Hey everyone, my name is Jake. I'm 26 years old and I'm from Brazil. But 5 months ago, I couldn't speak even one full sentence in English. Not even something simple like, "How are you?" without stopping to think a lot. I was completely lost. Today, I want to tell you how I learned English in just 5 months. I didn't pay for expensive classes. I didn't travel to an English-speaking country. I didn't waste my time with things that don't work. But this is not only my story. This can be your story too. If you ever felt sad, stuck, or shy because of your English, keep listening. I was in the same place before. And I promise, if you listen to my full story, step by step, you will understand how to get better at English. Let's go back to the beginning. My journey didn't start with hope. It started with something bad, something that changed my life. I always wanted to work at a company that works with people from different countries. My dream job was to be a software engineer at a big tech company. I loved writing code. I was good at it. I worked very hard every day and every night to be great at it. After many years of hard work, I finally got a chance. I applied for a big company in the U.S. One day, I got an email from the recruiter. It said, "Congratulations, you are selected for an interview." I was so happy. I started to dream about my new life. I imagined living in another country, making good money, and working with smart people. Then, the interview day came. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I opened Zoom. There were 3 people in the call. They were all native English speakers. When they started talking, I felt like their voices were moving very fast. I couldn't understand what they were saying. The first question was, "Jake, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your experience in software development?" I froze. I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't say it. The words stayed in my head. I said, yes, I am, um, software. I do coding, uh, many projects. Good, I am very good." They looked at me. Nobody said anything. The silence felt very heavy, like a stone in my stomach. Then they asked another question, but I couldn't answer that one either. At the end, one of them smiled and said, "All right, Jake, thank you for your time." I knew what that meant. I didn't get the job. I didn't fail because I wasn't good at my work. I failed because I couldn't speak English. That day, I learned something very important. English is not just a language. It is the key to my dream. And at that time, I didn't have that key. I felt ashamed. I felt very small. I was angry at myself. For many years, I told myself, I don't need English. I'll just be good at my job. And that's enough. But now I saw the truth. Without English, I was invisible. That night, I made a strong decision. I told myself, I will learn English. I told myself, I will learn English fast. I was serious about it. I did not want to waste any more time. I wanted to speak English as soon as possible, but I also knew that I needed to do things differently this time. Most people, when they start learning English, do one thing first. They sign up for expensive courses. That's what many people around me were doing. They pay a lot of money and hope that the teacher or the course will help them speak fluently, but I didn't do that. Why? Because I had already tried it before, and it did not work for me. 1 year before this, I paid for an online English class. I really believed it would help me. I joined the class every week. I followed what the teacher said. The teacher told us to memorize long vocabulary lists. He gave us a lot of grammar exercises and told us to study grammar rules. I did what he said. I studied every day. But after 3 months, I tried to have a simple conversation in English, and I couldn't. I still couldn't speak. I knew a lot of words, but I didn't know how to use them in real life. I felt frustrated. That was the moment I understood something important. Expensive classes are not always the answer. If I wanted to speak English fast, I needed to find a better way. I needed to find something real, something that worked for people like me. So I started something new. I made my own plan. I called it my 5-month method. And now I want to share this method with you. I will tell you what I did step by step. The first part of my plan was the first 15 days. This part was very important. Most beginners make one big mistake when they start learning English. I made the same mistake at first. I thought that I needed to learn more words. I believed that if I could learn 1,000 words, I would be able to speak English well. But that's not true. The truth is, I already knew many words. I had studied English in school. I knew some basic vocabulary. I knew what apple means, or go, or work, or thank you. But I couldn't put those words into sentences. I couldn't use them when I needed to speak. That's when I understood. It's not about how many words you know. It's about knowing how to use the words you already have. So in the first 15 days, I made a decision. I didn't study any new words, not even one. Instead, I did something much more useful. I learned how to use the words I already knew. And here's how I did it. First, I made something I called a survival sentence list. I sat down and thought, what sentences do I really need to use every day in real life? I didn't look at grammar books. I didn't ask anyone. I just thought about my day from morning to night. I wrote 50 simple and useful sentences. These were things I would actually say. For example, "Hi, how are you?" Can you repeat that? I don't understand. I am learning English. I need a coffee, please. These sentences were not hard. They were simple, but very important. Every morning I read these 50 sentences out loud, not just once, not twice. I read each one 10 times. In the beginning, my mouth felt slow. My tongue didn't move easily, but after 5 days, I started to speak faster. The sentences started to come out without thinking. They became part of me. Next, I started talking to myself in English. Yes, I know it sounds strange, but this was one of the most helpful things I ever did. Every day when I was alone, I spoke English out loud to myself. I didn't care if it sounded silly. I used simple words to describe what I was doing. For example, when I was in the shower, I said, "I am taking a shower. The water is hot. I feel relaxed." When I was making breakfast, I said, "I am making eggs." I like eggs. They are easy to cook. At first, I felt a little stupid. I laughed at myself. But then I realized something. This was my private classroom. No one was listening. No one could correct me or laugh at me. I was free. I could speak without fear. And slowly my brain started to think in English. The third thing I did was to practice 5 new sentences each day, but in a special way. I didn't choose random sentences. I picked them from movies, shows, or real conversations I heard online. I didn't just read the sentences, I copied them exactly. I repeated them 10 times. But here's the important part. I tried to say them with the same emotion, speed, and voice as the native speaker. If the actor in the movie was happy, I smiled and said the sentence with the same happy voice. If the person in the video was serious, I used a serious tone. This helped me with pronunciation. It helped me sound more natural. I wasn't just learning English. I was learning how to feel the language. At the end of the first 15 days, something big changed. I stopped translating words in my head. Before, I always had to think in Portuguese first, then try to say it in English. But now, I could say basic things in English without thinking too much. I felt more confident. I started to believe that I could really do this. I could really speak English. But this was only the beginning. The real work started after those first 15 days. I had fixed my biggest mistake, trying to learn too many words without knowing how to use them. Now, I was ready for the next step. After 15 days, I was not scared to speak. I could say basic sentences, and I didn't freeze. I didn't panic like before. I was ready to go deeper. I was ready to practice English in real ways, not just with myself, but with other people too. I still had a long way to go, but for the first time, I felt like I was on the right path. I was not guessing. I had a clear plan, and most of all, I knew that if I continued step by step, I would reach my goal. That's when the real practice began. I started to feel more confident with my English. I could say simple sentences without getting stuck. I didn't have to think too hard about every word, but deep inside, I knew that this was not enough. I didn't want to only say short sentences like, I go to work, or I am tired. I wanted more. I wanted to have real conversations. I wanted to talk to people the same way I talk in my native language. I wanted to understand native English speakers when they spoke fast without having to translate every word in my head. I had a big dream. I wanted to speak English fluently, naturally, and confidently. So I made a new plan. This plan changed everything for me. If you follow this plan, I believe you will improve faster than you ever thought possible. It worked for me, and it can work for you too. The first thing I realized was this. When I tried to speak English, my brain was too slow. I knew a lot of English words, but I could not put them together quickly. I had to stop and think too much. That made it hard to speak fluently. So I needed to find a way to make speaking feel natural. I needed to train my brain to answer quickly, just like I do in my own language. That's when I started using something I now call the question and answer method. It's a very simple idea, but it helped me a lot. Here's what I did. First, I asked myself a question in English. Second, I answered the question right away without thinking too long. Third, I repeated this process many times, and I gave different answers every time. For example, I started with a very easy question. What did you do today? At first, my answer was short. I just said, I worked. But then I told myself, say more. So I said, I worked on my project. Then I added more. I worked on my project for 3 hours. Then I kept going. I worked on my project for 3 hours. Then I took a break. I added even more. I worked on my project for 3 hours. Then I took a break and had some coffee. Every time I answered, I tried to add more details. This was very helpful. It trained my brain to think in English, and it helped me speak without stopping. Another question I used was, what did you eat for breakfast? The first time I said, I ate eggs. Then I added, I ate eggs and toast. Then I ate eggs, toast, and a banana. After that I said, I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was really hungry. And later, I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was really hungry, and I love eating a big breakfast. I did this every single day for at least 30 minutes. Sometimes I walked around the room while speaking. Sometimes I looked in the mirror and spoke. My speaking speed got faster. My sentences got longer. I stopped translating in my head. I started to think in English. But I had another problem. My pronunciation. Even when I spoke English, I still sounded like a foreigner. People understood me, but my accent was strong. I wanted to sound more natural. I wanted to sound like someone who really knows the language. That's when I found something amazing. It's called the echo technique. This helped me more than anything else for pronunciation. And the best part? I didn't need a teacher. I could do it all by myself. Here's how the echo technique works. First, I listened to a native speaker. I use short clips from movies, YouTube videos, or podcasts. Second, I paused the audio after each sentence. Third, I repeated the sentence out loud. I tried to copy everything, how they said it, the speed, the tone, and even the feeling in their voice. For example, in a movie, the character said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I paused and said the same thing. "I don't know what you're talking about." I did it again and again. After 10 times, I noticed that my voice started to sound more like the native speaker. I also felt more confident saying the sentence. Another time, I listened to a podcast. The speaker said, "It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk." I paused and repeated, "It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk." At first, it was hard to match their speed and tone, but after a few times, it became easier. I started to feel like I was really speaking like a native. I did this every day for 30 minutes. After 1 month, my pronunciation was much better. I still had a small accent, of course, but native speakers started to tell me, "Wow, your English sounds really natural." That felt amazing. It gave me even more motivation to keep going. Now, let's talk about vocabulary. I knew that learning new words was important, but I also knew something else. Just memorizing word lists does not work. I had done that before. I remembered the word for one day. Then I forgot it. I needed a better way to learn new words and remember them. So I used what I call the story method. It's fun and it really works. First, I chose 5 new words every day. Only 5. Not too many. Second, I made a short story using those 5 words. Third, I read the story out loud 10 times. Fourth, I tried to use the new words in my real conversations. Here's an example. Let's say my 5 new words are excited, invitation, party, arrive, surprise. My story would be like this. I was very excited because I received an invitation to a big party. When I arrived at the party, I got a huge surprise. It was my birthday. I made the story fun and simple. Then I read it again and again until I could say it without looking. After that, I tried to use the new words in real life. I talked to myself. I made more stories. I wrote them down. I used them in my daily conversations, even if they were just in my head. This method helped me remember new words much faster. It also helped me use them in the right way. I didn't just know the word, I could use it. So after using the question and answer method, the echo technique, and the story method, my English started to change. I wasn't perfect. I still made mistakes. But I didn't care about being perfect. I cared about making progress. And I was making progress every day. Now, I could speak faster, pronounce better, and remember more words. I didn't need to sit in a classroom. I didn't need to follow boring grammar books. I just needed to use English in real ways every single day. I felt proud of myself. I was no longer the person who could not speak in a job interview. I was no longer the person who felt afraid or embarrassed. I was becoming someone new, someone who could speak English with confidence. And I knew this was just the beginning. There was still more to learn, but now I had the tools. I had a system, I had a method that worked, and most of all, I had the belief that I could do it. If I could, then so can you. I kept doing the same thing every day. I used the story method, and it worked really well for me. After 3 months, I had learned over 1,000 new English words. I didn't use any vocabulary lists. I didn't sit down to memorize words like I used to. This time, I just learned words naturally through stories, speaking, and real-life use. That's why I remembered them so well. One of the biggest problems English learners have is that they think in their native language first. Then they try to translate everything into English before they speak. This makes speaking very slow and difficult. It also makes the sentences sound unnatural. I used to do this too, but I knew I had to change this habit if I wanted to speak English more fluently. So I started training my brain to think directly in English. It wasn't easy at first, but I found some simple ways to do it. One thing I did was describe everything I saw around me in English. For example, when I walked outside, I looked around and said in my mind, "The sky is blue, the weather is hot. I see people walking, that man is wearing a red shirt." I did this everywhere, on the bus, at the park, at the supermarket. I made my brain use English in daily life. Another thing I did was ask myself questions in English. Then I answered them in English too. For example, I would ask, "What am I doing right now?" Then I would answer, "I am sitting in a chair, I am drinking coffee, I am writing in my notebook." These were very simple sentences, but they helped me a lot. I used English all day, even if I was alone. I also started writing a journal in English. Every night before bed, I wrote about my day. In the beginning, I wrote very simple things like, "Today I went to work. I was tired. I ate dinner. I watched a movie." But after a few weeks, I could write more. My sentences got longer. My writing became more natural. I felt good because I could express myself better in English. After doing this for some time, something amazing happened. I stopped translating in my head. English words started to come into my mind directly. I didn't have to think in my native language first. It felt like I was really starting to think in English. That was a big moment for me. One of the simple but powerful things I did was create a personal rule. My rule was this: I must speak English for at least 2 hours every day. No matter what, no excuses. If I had no one to talk to, I talked to myself. If I didn't have free time, I spoke while cooking, cleaning, or walking. If I felt lazy, I reminded myself, English is my future. I cannot quit. This rule helped me stay strong. It made English a part of my daily life. After I got used to listening and speaking every day, I wanted to go one step further. I had built good habits, and now I wanted to improve even more. But I also realized something very important. Just listening and speaking was not enough. If I didn't understand English grammar and how sentences were made, I would keep making mistakes. I didn't want to say something that sounded strange or confusing. I wanted to sound natural. So I started paying more attention to the way native speakers talked. I didn't just repeat their sentences. I asked myself questions. I wanted to know why they used a certain sentence structure. For example, I often heard people say, "I have been learning English for 5 months." But in school, I learned to say, "I am learning English for 5 months." That confused me. I realized that the English we learn in school is often not the same as the English people use in real life. So I started to study these differences. I wanted to understand how tenses are really used in daily English. I asked questions like, when do people say, I have been doing something? And why do they say it this way? I found that small changes in grammar can make a big difference in how natural you sound. So I started writing down useful sentence structures. Then I used them in my daily speaking and writing. That way I could remember them and use them correctly. One of the hardest parts for me was using prepositions. Prepositions are small words like in, on, at, to, and for. But they are tricky. For example, people say on the bus, but in the car. They say at night, but in the morning. Why? I didn't know. These little words confused me a lot, so I kept a small notebook just for prepositions. When I saw or heard a confusing preposition, I wrote it down with a full sentence as an example. If I didn't understand why it was used, I searched for answers online. I also listened carefully to how native speakers use them. Over time, I got better at using prepositions, but I still made mistakes sometimes, and that was okay. I learned from those mistakes. To keep improving, I started doing more writing. I already had a habit of writing a daily journal, but I wanted to get better at it. In the beginning, my writing was very basic. I wrote things like, today I went to work. I was tired. I ate pizza. It was good. But then I asked myself, how do native speakers write? I started reading blogs, news articles, and simple books. I didn't worry if I didn't understand every word. I just wanted to see how English was used naturally. I looked at how sentences were built. I paid attention to word order and the small words that connect ideas. Then I tried to use the same style in my own writing. When I found a sentence I liked, I copied it and made my own version. For example, if I read, after finishing work, I went to the gym to relax, I would write. After finishing dinner, I watched a movie to relax. This helped me learn how to write more smoothly and naturally. Bit by bit, my writing started to sound better. My vocabulary grew, my grammar improved, and most importantly, I felt more confident. I didn't need to speak like a textbook. I could speak like a real person. Learning English takes time, but it doesn't have to be boring. I learned that when you use English every day in speaking, listening, reading, and writing, you can improve faster than you think. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. I was now thinking in English, writing in English, speaking every day, and understanding more grammar naturally. I could see how far I had come in just a few months, and I knew I was getting closer to fluency, one step at a time. I started to notice how native English speakers made their sentences. Their sentence style was a little different from what I learned in school. They used simple words, but they sounded very natural. I wanted to speak like that too. So every night when I wrote in my diary, I tried to copy the way they spoke. I didn't just write what happened in my day. I wrote it using the same sentence style I heard from them. Slowly, this helped my writing and speaking become more natural. One thing that really helped me improve faster was a method called shadowing. I didn't know this word at first, but I learned that it means repeating what someone says right after they say it. I found videos of native English speakers on YouTube. I put on my headphones and listened carefully. As soon as they spoke, I repeated their words right away, trying to match their speed and how they said the words. I tried to copy their tone and pronunciation exactly. I did this every day for at least 20 minutes. At the beginning, it was hard. My mouth didn't move fast enough. I couldn't always keep up, but I didn't stop. I just kept practicing. After a few weeks, my pronunciation got much better. I started to sound more like a native speaker. I felt proud of my progress. Another thing that helped a lot was watching English movies and TV shows. But I didn't just watch like I used to. This time, I watched with English subtitles. I listened and read the subtitles at the same time. After each sentence, I paused the video and repeated what the actor said. I focused on how they said the words, how their voice changed, and how fast or slow they spoke. I also copied their rhythm, the way their voice went up and down. Little by little, my English started to sound more real. I wasn't just saying the words, I was speaking with emotion and a natural voice. I started to feel like I was really becoming an English speaker. At this point, I understood something very important. English is not only about grammar or vocabulary, it's also about confidence. Many people know a lot of English words. Many people understand grammar rules, but they are afraid to speak. They don't want to make mistakes. They think people will laugh at them or judge them. I felt the same way before. I was afraid too, but I made a decision. I told myself, I will not be afraid anymore. I will speak even if I make mistakes. So I started to talk in English as much as I could. If I was at work and someone spoke English, I joined the conversation. If I was at a store and I heard English, I said something. If I met someone who knew English, I asked them questions. I tried to speak with friends, co-workers, and even strangers. At first I was nervous. I was worried I would say something wrong. But something amazing happened. People understood me, even when my English was not perfect. They didn't laugh at me. They didn't correct me in a rude way. Most of them were kind and patient. This gave me the confidence to keep trying. The more I spoke, the more relaxed I became. Then I came face to face with my biggest fear, talking to native English speakers. I was scared. I thought, what if they don't understand me? What if I freeze and can't speak at all? But I knew I had to do it. I had come so far and I couldn't stop now. So I made a smart plan. I prepared 10 common topics people talk about in everyday life. I practiced these topics every day. For example, I practiced how to answer questions like, how was your day? What do you do for work? What's your favorite food? I practiced my answers again and again until I could say them easily. Then I took the big step. I joined an online English conversation group. It was a place where people from different countries came together to practice English. The first time I joined, I was very nervous. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating fast. But once I started talking, I realized something. Everyone in the group was just like me. We were all learning. We were all trying. No one was perfect. That made me feel safe and happy. We talked about many topics. We laughed. We helped each other. I made friends from different countries. We practiced English together, and it was fun. I didn't feel like I was studying. I felt like I was living in English. Now, I was reaching the final part of my English journey. I felt a strong confidence inside me. It was not the same as before. I wasn't the shy person who was scared to speak. I wasn't the one who stayed quiet because I was afraid of mistakes. I had changed. I had grown. I was becoming fluent, step by step. This transformation did not happen in one day. It came from daily practice, small efforts, and a right attitude. I kept going, even when it was hard. I didn't stop, even when I felt tired. I stayed focused, and it changed my life. One day, something special happened. I was standing in front of the mirror like I often did, speaking to myself in English, but this time something felt different. I didn't stop to think. I didn't translate in my head. The words just came out. My English flowed naturally, like water from a river. It felt like magic, but I knew it was not magic. It was the result of all the work I had done for many months. That same day, I wanted to test myself even more. I wanted to see how far I had come. So I joined an online meeting where people from around the world talked about different topics in English. It was a serious conversation, not just small talk. I joined the discussion and shared my thoughts. I understood what others said. I answered with confidence. I felt proud of myself. That moment showed me how much I had grown. I remembered the times when I was scared, when I couldn't speak even one full sentence, when I thought I would never learn English. But now I was speaking freely. I was expressing my ideas. I was having real conversations in English. And the best part? I enjoyed it. English was no longer a subject I had to study. It had become a part of my life. At first, I was a little nervous, but I told myself, I have worked too hard to feel this way now. I took a deep breath and started to speak. The words came out clearly and with confidence. I didn't feel confused or stuck. I didn't have to stop and search for the right word. I just spoke. And I understood what the other people were saying too. I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel left out. People listened to me. They nodded while I spoke. Some even smiled and asked me questions. They were really interested in what I had to say. That moment felt amazing. It was a big moment for me. That was the day I knew I had reached fluency. 5 months after I began my English journey, I applied again for my dream job. This was the same company that said no to me months before. But this time, I was not the same Jack. I was different. I was stronger. I was more confident. I had changed. Back then, I walked into the interview room with fear. I didn't feel sure of myself. I couldn't speak clearly. But now, things were different. This time, I walked into the room with my head held high. I felt proud. I wasn't scared of speaking English anymore. I was ready. I sat in front of the interviewer and smiled. I didn't feel small or nervous. I spoke in English, and I spoke well. I answered every question calmly and clearly. I didn't just speak English, I owned it. I could see it in the interviewer's eyes. They were not only impressed with how I spoke, but also with the way I had changed. They saw my hard work. They saw that I never gave up. A few days later, my phone rang. It was the company. I answered with hope in my heart. A voice on the other end said, "Jack, congratulations. You got the job." For a moment, I couldn't believe it. I stood there frozen. My dream job. The same company that once rejected me now wanted me to join them. They told me my starting salary would be $5,000 a month. I was shocked. I had never imagined making that much money. I held my phone in my hand. My body was shaking. My eyes filled with happy tears. The first thing I did was call my parents. I said, "Mom, Dad, I did it." My mother started crying. She was so happy. My father, a quiet man who doesn't usually show emotion, said only one thing. "We always knew you could do it." And at that moment, I understood something. I didn't just do this for myself. I did it for them too. With my first salary, I wanted to do something special. For my father, I bought a beautiful watch. It was something he had always wanted but never bought for himself. For my mother, I bought a gold necklace. She had given up so much for our family. She always took care of everyone else and never asked for anything. Now it was my turn to give back. When I gave them the gifts, they tried to say no. "We don't need anything, son," they said. But I shook my head and smiled. "Please take it. This is my way of saying thank you. Thank you for always believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." That moment was full of love. I felt so proud and happy. It made every hard moment worth it. Every late night I stayed up practicing, every time I felt tired or frustrated, every moment when I wanted to quit but didn't. All of it, it was worth it. Now I want to share the most important things I learned from my journey. These things helped me become fluent in English in just a few months. And maybe they can help you too. The first and most important thing is this: your mindset matters more than anything. The way you think about learning changes everything. Many people don't learn English because they believe they can't. Yeah, I used to think the same way. I told myself English was too hard. I said, "I'm not good at languages." But one day, I stopped saying that. I changed my thinking. I said, English is not too hard. I can learn it just like I can learn other things. I stopped saying, "I'm bad at English." I started saying, "I'm improving every day." This small change helped me a lot. When you believe in yourself, you keep going. But if you don't believe, you stop before you even try. The second important thing is to surround yourself with English. Make English part of your daily life. I changed my phone's language to English. At first, it was strange, but I got used to it. I watched only English movies and videos. I listened to English songs, even if I didn't understand every word. I followed English-speaking people on social media. This way, English was always around me. Even when I was tired or busy, I found small ways to practice. I spoke to myself while cooking or cleaning. I described things around me in English. I asked myself questions and answered them in English. I made English part of my world. This is how I built my skills. Not by studying boring grammar books all day, but by using English in my daily life. I didn't give up when it was hard. I kept going step by step, even when progress felt slow. And now I can say something that once felt impossible. I am fluent in English. Every day I gave my brain English to think about. I listened, spoke, and thought in English as much as I could. Whenever I looked at something, I said the name in English. If I saw a car, I would say, "That's a blue car. It's moving fast." Doing this helped me learn new words naturally, without stress. I also learned to speak without fear. A lot of people are afraid of making mistakes, but mistakes are part of learning. I used to be scared too. But then I understood something. Native English speakers don't care if you make a mistake. They are usually happy that you're trying to speak their language. So I pushed myself to speak. I spoke to people at shops in English. I asked strangers for directions in English. When I was alone, I spoke to myself in English. The more I practiced speaking, the better I got. Listening was also very important. I didn't just focus on speaking. I trained my ears to understand English too. I listened to English podcasts, audiobooks, and conversations. But I didn't just sit and listen. I did something called shadowing. That means I listened to a sentence and then repeated it right away, trying to copy how the speaker said it. I copied their pronunciation and rhythm. This helped me speak more clearly and sound more natural. I also learned how to grow my vocabulary in a smart way. At first, I tried to memorize long lists of words, but that didn't help much. I would forget them quickly, so instead, I learned words by using them in sentences. I focused on short phrases, not just single words. For example, instead of just learning the word happy, I learned phrases like, I feel so happy today, or that movie made me really happy. Learning this way helped me remember better and use the words more naturally in real life. Grammar was something I learned without using thick grammar books. I didn't spend hours studying grammar rules. I learned grammar by listening and speaking. When I made a mistake, someone corrected me, and I remembered the correct sentence. For example, I used to say, he go to school. But when someone told me it should be, he goes to school, I understood it better because I was using it. I believe the best way to learn grammar is by using English every day, not just reading rules. One of the biggest lessons I learned was that being consistent is more important than being perfect. Some people wait to speak English until they think they are ready or perfect. That's a mistake. I didn't wait. I started speaking from the first day, even when I only knew a few words. I used those words. I made a rule for myself. Every single day, I must do something in English. Some days, I spoke for 10 minutes. Some days, I wrote a short paragraph. Some days, I listened to a podcast. Even when I was busy or tired, I still did something in English. That is what helped me improve. You don't need expensive classes to learn English. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country. You just need to really want to learn and promise yourself that you will practice every day. Now, close your eyes and imagine yourself 6 months from now. Imagine yourself speaking English fluently and with confidence. Imagine the new job you can get, the people you can talk to, and how proud you will feel. You can make it happen. You just need to start today. Speak, listen, practice. Don't give up. Your future self will thank you for starting now. Learning English is not just about a language. It's about changing your life. And before I end, I want to say this to you from my heart. If I can do it, you can do it too. It doesn't matter where you begin. It doesn't matter how weak your English is right now. What matters is that you begin. Start today. Start now. I know it's not easy. I know some days you will feel like giving up. But I want you to remember this. The only thing between you and fluency is practice. Daily, honest practice. Stop thinking you can't do it. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Start surrounding yourself with English. Speak every day. Listen every day. Read something in English. Write something in English. Make mistakes. It's okay. Learn from those mistakes. That's how we grow. And here's the truth. The pain of hard work lasts only for a little while, but the pain of regret of not trying stays with you forever. So what will you choose? Choose to work hard. Choose to grow. Choose to succeed. Your journey to fluency starts now. If this story gave you hope, if it helped you, like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be here to help you on every step of the way. Let's do this together.